Before this video begins, I want you to take one slow breath, because what you're about to hear is not an accident. It is not random. It is not coincidence. Something happened in your life recently. Someone left you, something broke, a chapter ended, a door closed. And ever since that moment, your heart has been whispering questions. You never say out loud, why did Allah take them away? What am I supposed to learn from this? Why do I feel this pain so deeply? Let me tell you something that may finally answer the question that has kept you awake at night. What you lost was temporary, but what Allah is about to give you is permanent, transforming, and life-changing. You're not watching this video by accident. You're watching it because this is the moment Allah wants you to understand why He removed someone you thought you could not live without. In the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through something you were never taught, something that will change how you look at every heartbreak, every loss, every separation you've ever faced. You see, every person who leaves your life doesn't just leave. They shift something inside you. They open a space. They break an attachment. They free a part of you that was trapped. And that freedom is the beginning of your rise. And I promise you this, if you stay until the end of this video, you will not see your loss the same way again. You will not see your heart break the same way again. And you will finally understand that what felt like the end was actually the moment Allah began rebuilding your life. Your rise does not begin when people stay. Your rise begins when the wrong people leave. So don't scroll. Don't click away. Don't lose this moment. Because the explanation your heart has been begging for, the clarity your mind has been searching for, and the healing your soul has been waiting for begins right now. Stay with me. Let Allah speak to your heart through this reminder. And let this be the video that finally makes your Allah remove them because He heard what you didn't hear. My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when you hold someone so close to your heart that you don't even realize how fragile they are in your story. You think they are good for you. You think they care for you. You think their presence is safe for your soul. But what you see on the surface is never the full picture. Because behind every smile they showed you, behind every soft word they spoke, behind every promise they made, there were hidden layers only Allah could see. Layers you would have never discovered until the day they shattered you. You don't know the conversations that happened when you weren't around. You don't know the words spoken in private that you were never meant to hear. You don't know the thoughts they had when they looked at you. You don't know the intentions that were forming quietly in their heart. But Allah knew, Allah saw, Allah heard. Allah understood what your innocent heart couldn't detect. Sometimes a person smiles at you with warmth, but in their heart they hold thoughts that would destroy you. Sometimes a person acts kind, but their intentions are full of selfishness. Sometimes they stand beside you, but only for as long as it benefits them. And you, with your gentle heart, kept giving them chances, kept believing their words, kept assuming the best, kept hoping they would be who you imagined them to be. But your hope for them was bigger than the reality of who they were. My dear soul, Allah knew the truth long before you even suspected anything. He knew your heart was too soft, too sincere, too trusting to see the traps. He knew that if He allowed you to continue, you would lose pieces of yourself that you would never get back. So Allah did what only the most merciful can do. He quietly removed them before their hidden intentions reached your heart. You didn't see the danger. You didn't feel the shift. You didn't notice the change in their loyalty, but Allah did. He noticed when their heart moved away from you. He noticed when their sincerity faded. He noticed when their intentions turned bitter. He noticed when their words stopped matching their actions. And instead of showing you everything, instead of exposing their true colors in front of you, instead of letting their betrayal crush your spirit, Allah simply lifted them out of your life, like a parent pulling their child away from a harmful object they think is harmless. To you, it felt like a sudden loss. To Allah, it was a long-awaited rescue. You cried because you didn't understand. You questioned yourself because you thought you were the problem. You sat alone wondering why the ending was so abrupt. You replayed memories trying to find where things went wrong, but nothing went wrong. Everything went right. Their exit was not the breaking of your story, it was the protection of your destiny. You were not losing a person, you were losing a danger you couldn't see. Sometimes Allah takes someone away, not because they are evil in every way, but because they are not good for your heart, your character, your mental peace, your emotional growth, or your spiritual journey. They were draining parts of you quietly. Parts you didn't even realize were getting weaker. Your joy was fading little by little. Your confidence was shaking slowly. Your peace was thinning day by day. Your connection with Allah was becoming distant. And you didn't even know why. But Allah knew. He knew this person would eventually hollow your heart. He knew they would not stand with you when life became heavy. He knew they would not honor you when you needed strength. He knew they would not protect your dignity or value your kindness. So Allah intervened. He took them away before they reached the part of you that you couldn't rebuild. He ended the chapter before the wound became permanent. He allowed their departure before their presence damaged your soul. At that moment, it felt like you were being punished, but in reality, you were being protected. You were being saved in a way you didn't understand. You were being pulled away from a future that had darkness written inside it. You were being pushed toward a future filled with light. Sometimes the biggest mercy from Allah is removing the person you begged Him to keep, because He knew the truth that your heart wasn't ready to see. My dear brothers and sisters, there were times you cried alone because they left. But imagine how many times Allah protected you from tears they would have caused later. Imagine how many nights you would have spent in hurt, confusion, betrayal, and disappointment if Allah had not removed them when He did. You didn't lose someone special. You lost someone who was slowly becoming harmful. You lost someone whose season in your life had ended. You lost someone whose character was no longer aligned with your growth. You lost someone who would have slowed down the future Allah is preparing for you. Losing them was not a sign you were unworthy. It was a sign that Allah considered you too valuable to be left in the wrong hands. You think your life fell apart, but Allah was actually making room for something better, something purer, something more sincere, something that will never hurt you the way this person almost did. You didn't lose them. You gained protection. You gained clarity. You gained strength. You gained emotional freedom. You gained a chance to rediscover yourself. You gained a future without hidden harm. It's painful now, but one day you will look back and say, if they stayed one more month, one more week, one more day, I would have lost myself. Allah removed them not to break you, but to rebuild you. And my dear brothers and sisters, when a person leaves your life, your heart often focuses only on the pain of the moment. You see the empty space they once filled. You feel the silence where their voice used to be. You notice the absence in places where they once stood. But what you don't see is what Allah removed along with them. You don't see the burden that was lifted off your heart. You don't see the stress that stopped quietly growing inside you. You don't see the heaviness that was building day by day. You don't see the emotional harm that was slowly shaping your future. When Allah takes someone away, He takes their shadow too. A shadow you didn't even realize was darkening your path. You might miss their presence, but you don't miss the emotional weight they carried with them. You don't miss the confusion you felt. You don't miss the insecurity that became normal. You don't miss the mental battles you had to fight just to stay peaceful. You don't miss the exhaustion you pretended wasn't there. You thought you were losing someone important, but Allah was actually removing a chain around your heart. The problem is not that they left. The problem is that you believed they were meant to stay. You saw their temporary role as a permanent one. You gave them priority in a place Allah never placed them. You trusted their presence more than you trusted Allah's plan. You held onto the idea of them, not the reality of who they truly were. But the moment Allah saw that holding on to them would harm your growth, your peace, your future, your self-respect, and even your relationship with Him, He allowed the separation to happen. Allah does not break something unless breaking it will save you. Sometimes Allah takes someone away not because they are bad, but because you are becoming someone better, and their presence would keep you stuck in an old version of yourself. If they stayed, you would have remained small. If they stayed, you would have doubted yourself more. If they stayed, you would have sacrificed your values. If they stayed, you would have lost parts of you that took years to build. If they stayed, you would have accepted a kind of love that was never at the level your soul deserved. So Allah removed them so He could remove the version of you that needed their approval. Sometimes the person is not the real test. The attachment is, and Allah cannot give you what is written for you until He frees your hands from what was never meant to stay. My dear brothers and sisters, you must understand something deeply. Allah sees every moment of your future with perfect clarity. He sees the conversations you will have, the tears you will shed, the mistakes you will make, and the heartaches you will face. And sometimes, before something painful reaches you, Allah steps in and says, enough. Enough heartbreak, enough disrespect, enough anxiety, enough of trying to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Enough losing yourself, trying to keep someone who wasn't meant for your soul. Allah knows when you've carried a relationship longer than its spiritual purpose. He knows when a person's role in your life has finished. He knows when someone has taught you all the lessons they were meant to teach you. He knows when someone's presence is no longer helping you grow. And even though your heart is attached, Allah gently removes what your soul has outgrown. You see this as loss, but Allah sees it as graduation. You are stepping into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, clearer, and more aware of your worth. You don't need someone who weakens your spirit. You don't need someone who confuses your heart. You don't need someone who treats your sincerity like a burden. You don't need someone who makes you question your value. You don't need someone who can walk away without thinking of the damage they leave behind. What you need is someone who adds peace, not pressure. Someone who respects your presence, not takes advantage of it. Someone who values your heart, not exhausts it. Someone who brings you closer to Allah, not closer to heartbreak. And sometimes the only way for Allah to bring that person into your life is to remove the one blocking the door. This is why you didn't lose anything. The truth is, you gained so much more. You gained emotional rest because no one is draining your energy anymore. You gained mental clarity because you're no longer trying to understand mixed messages or unpredictable behavior. You gained self-worth because you're finally seeing your value without someone diminishing it. You gained spiritual peace because your heart is lighter without the weight they brought into your life. You gained space because now there is room for something far better. You didn't lose them. You lost the pain you didn't deserve. You lost the stress you shouldn't have been carrying. You lost the confusion that poisoned your peace. You lost the fear of being abandoned. And what did you gain? You gained yourself. You gained the chance to rebuild your heart without interruptions. You gained the opportunity to reconnect with Allah without someone pulling you away. You gained a future that is no longer tied to uncertainty. You gained a life that is free from the emotional shadows they brought. My dear brothers and sisters, one day when your heart is healed and your mind is calm, you will look back and say, if I knew what Allah was protecting me from, I would have fallen into sujood out of gratitude the day they left. Because the pain you feel today is nothing compared to the pain Allah saved you from tomorrow. You didn't lose them. You were saved from a story that would have cost you your peace, your identity, and your future. And Allah saved you in the most loving way possible by letting them leave before they destroyed who you were meant to become. The loss was loud, but the protection was silent. My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when a loss hits you so loudly that you feel it shaking every corner of your heart. It feels sudden, it feels sharp, it feels unfair. You wake up with their absence echoing in your chest. You go to sleep replaying conversations, wondering what you could have done differently. The loss makes noise inside you, even when the world around you is quiet. But what you don't realize in those painful moments is that Allah's protection did not arrive with the same noise. Your heart felt the shock of someone leaving, but it did not hear the quiet footsteps of mercy that entered your life at the same time. The loss screamed, but the protection whispered. The loss was obvious, but the protection was hidden. The loss broke your heart loudly, but the protection rebuilt your future silently. When someone leaves, you only see the door closing. You see the goodbye. You see the silence. You see the emptiness. You see the sudden distance. You see the change. What you don't see is what Allah is doing behind that closed door. You don't see what He removed along with that person. You don't see the emotional storms He shielded you from. You don't see the future heartbreak He saved you from. You don't see the pain He erased before it even had a chance to reach you. You don't see the hidden harm you escaped. You don't see the conversations you were protected from. You don't see the nights you would have cried. You don't see the betrayal that would have shattered you. The loss was loud, but the protection was silent. And this is how Allah protects His believers. Not always through signs you can hear, but through mercy you only understand much later. Sometimes the loudest thing in your life is the sound of something leaving. But the quietest and most beautiful thing is what Allah is bringing instead. You cried the day they walked away. You questioned yourself. You wondered why your heart was chosen for such pain. You thought this ending was a punishment. But while you were crying loudly over who left, Allah was quietly removing what was going to break you even more. You didn't hear His protection because it did not come with thunder. It came with gentleness. It came with care. It came with love. It came with wisdom. Allah didn't remove them loudly, He removed them softly so that you would not be destroyed with the truth behind their heart. You were not ready to know what they really felt. You were not ready to see their reality. You were not ready to hear what they said when you weren't around. You were not ready to handle the disappointment that was coming. So Allah took them away in silence. He allowed the separation to happen in a way that looked like confusion to you, but was actually protection from Him. The loss was loud because your heart was attached. The protection was silent because Allah was gentle. You saw the ending. You felt the heartbreak. You carried the pain. But Allah saw the beginning of your healing. He felt the weight on your soul. He lifted a burden you didn't even know was crushing you. Sometimes Allah protects you so silently that the only thing you feel is heartbreak. And you don't realize until later that the heartbreak was the cure. My dear brothers and sisters, you didn't lose someone suddenly. You were saved quietly. While you were grieving the loud pain of losing a person, Allah was shielding you from 1,000 silent harms you may never know, harms you were blind to, harms your heart was too gentle to face. Allah does not always show you what He saved you from, because seeing it might break you more than the loss itself. The loss was loud, the protection was silent, but when Allah protects you, it is always perfect. One day you will sit alone and look back at this moment. You will remember how loud your tears were. You will remember how heavy your heart felt. You will remember how confused you were. You will remember how the silence hurt more than words ever could. And then after time has healed parts of you, you will be able to say, I didn't realize it then, but Allah saved me. You will see how peaceful your heart became without their ups and downs. You will see how clear your mind became without their confusion. You will see how stable your life became without their unpredictability. You will see how your spirit rose without their emotional weight. The day they left was painful, but the days that followed were protected. And the days that are coming will be even more beautiful. You will understand that the loudness of the loss was nothing compared to the greatness of the protection. Sometimes Allah's silent protection is far louder in meaning than the noise of someone leaving. My dear brothers and sisters, there are times when the loss feels like a storm inside you. It shakes the walls of your heart. It makes your thoughts race. It makes your chest feel heavy. It makes your nights feel longer than your days. It makes your mind search for answers that simply do not come. The pain is loud, sometimes louder than your own breath, louder than your hope, louder than your patience, louder than your strength. But the protection that Allah gave you, that was quiet, so quiet that you didn't recognize it at first, so gentle that you mistook it for loneliness, so hidden that you confused it with abandonment, so soft that you assumed nothing good was happening. You were focused on what you lost, but Allah was focused on what He was saving you from. When a person leaves your life, you hear the door closing. You feel the emptiness. You feel the shift. You feel the silence. But you don't hear the doors that Allah silently locked behind you. Doors that led to heartbreak, to pain, to disappointment, to betrayal, to years of emotional exhaustion. You didn't hear those doors closing, but Allah closed them, so you would never walk through them. This is why the loss feels loud to you, but the protection feels invisible. Allah doesn't always protect you with signs you can see. Sometimes He protects you by preventing something you never even knew was coming. You may think the relationship ended suddenly, but nothing ends suddenly with Allah. He saw your future. He saw the way this person would hurt you. He saw how their behavior would drain your energy. He saw what they would say when their heart changed. He saw the disappointment you would face. He saw the emotional wounds they would leave behind. Before any of that reached you, He stepped in. He removed them gently, softly, to protect you from the storm you did not see. The loss was loud because it reached your heart. The protection was silent because it came from His mercy. Sometimes Allah saves you from a fire without letting you smell the smoke. You don't realize the danger you escaped because Allah did not allow you to feel even a taste of it. You think you lost someone important, but Allah knows you were losing yourself trying to keep them. He knows how you were forcing your heart to carry more than it should. He knows how much effort you were putting into something that wasn't healthy. He knows how often you ignored your own pain just to keep peace. He knows how your spirit was slowly breaking under the weight of the relationship. He saw what you didn't want to see. He heard what you didn't want to hear. He understood what your heart couldn't accept. So He removed them. Not because you did something wrong, but because He refuses to let the wrong people stay in the heart of the one He loves. My dear brothers and sisters, the loss was loud because it happened to your emotions, but the protection was silent because it happened to your future. You cried over the ending, but Allah smiled over the beginning. He prepared for you. You were upset about the separation, but Allah was pleased with the protection He wrapped around you. You kept wondering, why did this happen to me? But Allah was silently saying, if only you knew what I saved you from. The day will come when the silence of His protection will speak louder than the noise of your pain. One day you will wake up feeling lighter with no reason. A day where you don't miss them anymore. A day where the memories no longer hurt. A day where your heart finally feels free. A day where your peace feels natural again. A day where your soul feels safe. A day where you suddenly realize this peace could never exist if they were still here. At that moment, you will understand the secret you couldn't see before. The loss that broke you is the same loss that saved you. When Allah removes someone for your protection, He does it in a way that seems confusing at first, but becomes clear as your heart heals. You were crying over who left, but Allah was quietly bringing someone better. Someone more sincere, someone more caring, someone more respectful, someone whose presence brings peace, not pressure. You didn't lose anything meaningful. You were relieved from something harmful, and that relief came disguised as heartbreak. The loss screamed in your heart, but the protection whispered in your destiny. And one day, those whispers will be louder than every tear you shed. What left you was never meant to walk into your future. My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when something leaves your world so unexpectedly that you stand there in shock, wondering how everything changed so quickly. You look at the door that closed and think your entire future was behind it. You think your happiness was tied to that person. You think your path was connected with theirs. You think your story depended on their presence. But what you don't realize in that moment is that not everything that walks with you is meant to walk into your future. Some people are written only for a chapter, not for the whole story. Some hearts are meant to touch yours, but not stay with yours. Some souls are meant to awaken something inside you, but not continue the journey with you. Some relationships are meant to teach you, not travel beside you. When Allah removes someone, it is never random. There is always a reason, a wisdom, a mercy, a protection, a preparation. What left you was never meant to walk into the next stage of your life, even if your heart wanted them to stay. You see, Allah knows your future with perfect clarity. He knows who you will become. He knows where you are going. He knows the blessings waiting ahead of you. He knows the people who will enter your life. He knows the opportunities that will come. He knows the challenges that will shape you. And He also knows who cannot handle the weight of your future. Some people fit your past but do not fit your growth. They fit who you used to be but not who you are becoming. They fit your comfort but not your purpose. They fit your heart in its wounded state, but not your heart in its healed state. Allah removes them Because the version of you that is rising cannot survive surrounded by the people who were attached to the version of you that was breaking. If they were meant to be part of your future, they would have stayed sincerely. They would have grown with you. They would have supported your elevation. They would have matched your growth. They would have walked beside you with loyalty. They would have carried the weight of your dreams with you. But not everyone can walk with you to the places Allah is taking you. Some people are too small for the size of the destiny Allah wrote for you. Some hearts are too weak to stand with you during your rise. Some intentions are too unclear to walk with you toward clarity. Some souls are too attached to your old pain and cannot handle the healed version of you that Allah is preparing. Their chapter ended because your story is about to transform. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes you think losing someone is a step backward, but Allah is actually pulling you forward. Sometimes you feel like your life is shrinking, but Allah is expanding your future. Sometimes you feel like your world is breaking, but Allah is building something new. You think they walked away from you, but they actually walked out of a space Allah no longer permitted them to be in. Their exit was not a punishment to you. It was a completion of their purpose. They did what their presence in your life was meant to do. They taught you something. They changed you in some way. They revealed something about yourself. They prepared you for the person you will become. They awakened what needed awakening. They tested what needed strengthening. They exposed what needed healing. Once their purpose was fulfilled, Allah released them from your story. What left you was not meant to walk into a future that is sacred, protected, and written with far greater beauty than anything you imagined. Sometimes you hold on to someone because of memories, not because of destiny. You stay connected because of emotions, not because of purpose. You give chances because of attachment, not because of alignment. You imagine a future with them only because you fear a future without them. But Allah sees the dryness in relationships you are still watering. He sees the cracks in connections you are still repairing. He sees the truth in hearts you are still trusting. He sees the future you are blind to. He sees the pain you are avoiding. He sees the disappointment that would break you months later. He sees the betrayal you didn't notice. He sees the intentions that changed long before their actions did. So He removes the person even while your heart still wants them. Not because you don't deserve love, but because you deserve a love that doesn't harm you to keep it. Not because you are unworthy, but because your new chapter requires people who can walk with maturity, sincerity, and respect. Not because you failed, but because the journey ahead of you is too important to be slowed down by the wrong soul. My dear brothers and sisters, you must understand something deeply. Some people are not meant to enter the season of success. Allah is preparing for you. Their presence would block your growth. Their energy would drain your rise. Their attitudes would damage your confidence. Their intentions would cloud your clarity. Their doubts would weaken your faith. Their inconsistencies would harm your stability. Allah removes them because they cannot breathe in the altitude of your next blessings. Your future is a place of healing, a place of clarity, a place of peace, a place of emotional maturity, a place of spiritual strength, a place where your heart finally feels safe. Not everyone is built for that space, so Allah protects it. He protects your future by removing people who cannot honor it. He protects your destiny by ending relationships that cannot support it. He protects your growth by removing distractions that would slow it. He protects your peace by separating you from people who disturb it. He protects your elevation by disconnecting you from those who would pull you down. What left you was never meant to walk into a future that requires clean intentions, pure hearts, and sincere souls. This is why you must stop asking, why did they leave me? The real question is, why was I trying to take them into a future they never belonged to? Once you understand this, your heart becomes lighter, your eyes become clearer, your past becomes easier to release, your future becomes easier to trust, your soul becomes easier to carry. You will look back at the people who left and say, if they stayed, my future would have stayed small. Every separation was actually an opening. Every goodbye was a clearing. Every ending was a beginning. Every loss was preparation. Every heartbreak was a doorway to healing. What left your life did not take anything written for you. It simply took the space so the blessing written for you can finally arrive. My dear brothers and sisters, there comes a time when you look at your life and realize that some people were never meant to stay as long as you tried to keep them. They were meant to walk with you for a season, not for a lifetime. You held on because your heart was attached. You held on because you saw potential. You held on because you believed things could become better. You held on because you feared losing them more than you feared losing yourself. But Allah saw how your journey was being slowed down. He saw how your dreams were shrinking to fit their presence. He saw how your confidence was quietly fading. He saw how your peace was being traded for confusion. He saw how your light was dimming beside someone who didn't know how to honor it. Sometimes Allah removes them because you have outgrown what they still cling to. You are evolving. They are staying the same. You are healing. They are repeating old patterns. You are growing emotionally. They are stuck in emotional immaturity. You are moving toward your purpose. They are moving in circles. You cannot take everyone with you into a future that demands growth. Some people are tied to your past version, a version you are no longer meant to be. Allah removes them because your next chapter requires people with depth, sincerity, honesty, and emotional strength. Not people who are confused about their intentions. Not people who are unsure about your value. Not people who drain your energy. Not people who make promises they don't honor. Not people who walk in and out of your life depending on their mood. Your future is not a playground for unstable souls. Your future is sacred. Your future is protected. Your future is written with meaning. Your future is shaped with divine wisdom. This is why Allah removes what you begged Him to keep. He removes what blocks your growth. He removes what delays your blessings. He removes what hides your potential. He removes what keeps your heart tired. He removes what would break you when you are weakest. If they were truly written for your life's future, they would have been strong enough to walk into it with you. But if their heart wasn't aligned with your destiny, Allah would never let them stay. Sometimes the person leaving is not the tragedy. The real tragedy would have been if they stayed. Imagine entering the most important stage of your life with someone who cannot handle your light, with someone who is threatened by your growth, with someone who misunderstands your heart, with someone who doubts your dreams, with someone who dismisses your pain, with someone who refuses to grow emotionally, with someone who takes your sincerity for granted. Allah removes them not because you don't deserve love, but because you deserve a love that stands beside you in your eyes, not a love that disappears when your life becomes demanding. My dear brothers and sisters, you must free yourself from the idea that every person you love is meant to be part of your future. Some people are only mirrors. They show you something about yourself. Others are lessons. They teach you what pain feels like and what healing requires. Others are warnings. They show you what to never accept again. And a few are blessings. They walk with you into the future. Allah prepared, but not everyone belongs in the blessing category. Allah knows who is sincere enough for your future and who is too fragile, too unpredictable, or too harmful. Sometimes He removes the person before your future arrives because He doesn't want your future to collapse under their weight. Do not be sad when someone leaves. Be sad if someone who shouldn't be in your future stays longer than they should. What left your life was not meant to build your future with you. What left your life was not meant to hold your hand in the next stage. What left your life was not equipped for your healing. What left your life was not loyal enough for your destiny. What left your life was not emotionally safe enough for your growth. Allah took them out because your future is too important to be connected with someone who does not value your soul. You must understand this. Your future is not small. Your future is not weak. Your future is not average. Your future is not ordinary. Your future is something Allah wrote with wisdom, depth, and beauty. Not everyone is strong enough to walk into that with you. So when Allah removes someone, He is protecting the purity of your future from the chaos of people who cannot honor it. One day, when you step into the blessings that were meant specifically for your soul, when you finally breathe in a peace that feels natural, when you meet people who treat your heart gently, when you experience a love that honors your worth, when you find opportunities that make sense, when you wake up happy without forcing it, when your life starts aligning without you chasing anything, you will say, if that person stayed, none of this would have been possible. Because they were not meant to walk into this season of your life. They were meant to stop before the door. They were meant to exit before the rise. They were meant to leave before the blessing. What left you was never meant to grow with you. And what is coming will make you grateful for every person who walked away. Your future is cleaner, brighter, and safer. Because Allah removed what was never meant to survive the journey ahead. Losing them helped you find the part of yourself you lost. My dear brothers and sisters, there are times in life when you give so much of yourself to someone that you don't even notice pieces of your heart slipping away. It doesn't happen in one moment. It happens slowly, quietly, softly, one compromise at a time, one ignored feeling at a time, one swallowed pain at a time, one forced smile at a time, one lost boundary at a time. Before you know it, you wake up one day and realize that the person you became in that relationship is not the person you once were. You used to laugh freely, but now your laughter feels forced. You used to speak with confidence, but now your voice feels small. You used to dream without fear, but now your dreams feel impossible. You used to trust your heart, but now you doubt your own worth. You used to be full of light, but now parts of you feel dim. You didn't notice these changes because they didn't happen loudly. They happened quietly while you were busy trying to keep someone else happy. Sometimes you lose so much of yourself trying to keep someone that you forget what your own soul feels like. You forget what brings you peace. You forget what makes you smile. You forget what dreams you once carried. You forget what boundaries once protected you. You forget what you deserve. You forget what kind of love feels safe. You forget the value that Allah placed inside your heart. And Allah, who sees everything you cannot see, knows when your soul is being buried under the weight of a relationship that wasn't meant to last. He knows when you are giving too much of yourself. He knows when your heart is bending in ways it shouldn't. He knows when your light is fading. He knows when your spirit is tired. He knows when your innocence is being chipped away. He knows when your kindness is being misused. He knows when your silence is becoming pain. He knows when your love is becoming self-destruction. So Allah in His mercy removes them not to break you, but to return you to the version of yourself that you lost along the way. When they left, you thought you lost everything. You thought you lost companionship. You thought you lost love. You thought you lost stability. You thought you lost purpose. You thought you lost direction. But the truth is, you lost a person, but you started finding yourself. At first, the only thing you could see was the emptiness, the silence, the loneliness, the ache, the memories, the unanswered questions, the pain that sits silently in the chest. But slowly, very slowly, something deeper begins happening inside you. You start remembering who you were before the relationship drained you. You start remembering the parts of your personality that disappeared. You start remembering your strength. You start remembering your clarity. You start remembering your voice. You start remembering your worth. You start finding the version of yourself that was buried under compromise, buried under emotional weight, buried under someone else's expectations, buried under fear of losing someone who wasn't good for your soul. The day they left was the day your heart began coming back to life. It doesn't happen instantly. It happens little by little, like the way dawn replaces darkness. Slow, soft, gentle, but consistent. You begin to breathe easier. You begin to think clearer. You begin to sleep better. You begin to smile without forcing it. You begin to feel peace returning. You begin to feel like yourself again. Their absence becomes the space where your healing begins. My dear brothers and sisters, you didn't realize how much of yourself was slipping away until the moment they were gone. Their departure created a silence that allowed you to hear your own heart again. It allowed you to feel your own emotions without being judged. It allowed you to dream without being mocked. It allowed you to rest without fear. It allowed you to exist without walking on emotional eggshells. You began to discover parts of yourself that were waiting to be seen. The strength you forgot you had. The patience you didn't know you carried. The resilience that survived everything quietly. The wisdom that only pain could give you. The softness that remained even after being mistreated. The hope that refused to die. The faith that kept holding you through every storm. Sometimes Allah removes someone so the part of you that was dying can finally come alive. You didn't just lose them. You lost the anxiety they brought into your life. You lost the confusion they caused. You lost the stress you hid. You lost the pressure you carried. You lost the doubts they planted inside you. You lost the fear of disappointing them. You lost the pain of trying to be enough for someone who didn't value you. And what did you gain? You gained your own heart back. You gained your peace back. You gained your confidence back. You gained your identity back. You gained your clarity back. You gained your self-respect back. You gained your smile back. You gained your future back. The relationship ended, but the rebuilding began. And slowly, your soul began to rise again. After being pressed down for so long, losing them was not the end. It was the beginning of remembering who you really are. Their exit created space for the blessing you were waiting for. My dear brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when someone's exit feels like your entire world has cracked open. You look at the empty space they left behind and all you can see is loss. It feels like something was taken away from you. Something you depended on, something you prayed for, something you imagined would stay. Their absence is loud, their silence is sharp, their distance feels heavy. You stand there, staring at the door they closed, wondering why life suddenly feels so much colder. But what you don't realize in those emotional moments is that their exit was not the end of something good. It was the beginning of something better. When Allah removes someone from your life, He is not taking something valuable from you. He is making space for something more valuable. A blessing that was waiting, a blessing that was written, a blessing that needed room to enter, a blessing that couldn't come while the wrong person was occupying your heart. Sometimes Allah doesn't delay your blessing. You delay it by holding on to someone who blocks it. Your hands were too full to receive what you were praying for. Your heart was too crowded to welcome peace. Your mind was too occupied to see the opportunity ahead. Your life was too tangled to accept the gift Allah had prepared for your soul. And because Allah knows what you don't know, He removes what was never meant to stay, so that what is meant for you can finally appear. My dear soul, you may think their departure was random, but nothing about Allah's plan is random. Every exit in your life is an opening. Every loss is a clearing. Every ending is a beginning. Every separation is preparation for something you have been praying for. You were asking Allah for peace, but peace couldn't come while your heart was tied to someone who brought you stress. You were asking for emotional safety, but safety couldn't enter while you clung to someone who made you feel insecure. You were asking for clarity, but clarity couldn't reach you while you held on to someone who confused your path. You were asking for a future, but the future couldn't unfold while you were connected to someone who was holding you back. What you saw as loss was simply Allah clearing the pathway. He was making room for the blessing you asked Him for. He was opening space for what needed space to arrive. He was creating emptiness so something meaningful could fill it. Sometimes Allah doesn't send the blessing until the blockage is gone. You cannot plant a beautiful tree in soil that is already full of weeds. You cannot fill a cup that is already overflowing with the wrong things. You cannot welcome peace while holding on to a relationship that disturbs your soul. Their exit was not a rejection of you. It was a removal of what was rejecting your growth. Allah watched how that person drained you. He watched how you gave more than you received. He watched how your heart was becoming tired. He watched how you kept forgiving wounds that kept reopening. He watched how you prayed for relief but stayed in pain. So Allah, in His mercy, created an exit so the blessing you were praying for could finally enter your life. Their departure was the doorway. It had to open. My brothers and sisters, think about it. You cannot step into the next room while standing at the doorway of the last one. You cannot welcome the next chapter while your hands are still holding on to the previous one. You cannot receive the person written for you while clinging to the one who was never meant for your future. Blessings need space. Your soul needs space. Your future needs space. Your heart needs space. And Allah, in His perfect wisdom, emptied the space for you. At first, emptiness hurts. It feels like a wound. It feels like loneliness. It feels like losing something important. But emptiness is also a container waiting to be filled with something better. You think the emptiness is a punishment, but Allah is saying, this space is for something I wrote specifically for you. You think the silence is the end, but Allah is saying, this silence is preparing you for a voice that will speak to your heart with sincerity. You think the loneliness is painful, but Allah is saying, I am clearing your heart for a love that will bring peace, not wounds. what left you was never capable of delivering what Allah prepared for you. If that person stayed, you would miss the blessing that was written for you. Your heart would remain occupied. Your hands would remain full. Your life would remain crowded. Your future would remain stuck. Your peace would remain delayed. Some blessings cannot enter your life until the wrong person leaves it. This is why shaitan whispers, you lost everything. But Allah is silently saying, you just gained the space you needed. My dear brothers and sisters, you didn't even realize how limited your heart became in that relationship. You didn't realize how much of yourself you had to shrink. You didn't realize how much emotional weight you carried. You didn't realize how much room stress was using inside your life. And when the person left, you suddenly had air to breathe again. You suddenly had time to reflect again. You suddenly had peace you forgot existed. You suddenly had silence that didn't hurt anymore. You suddenly had clarity about what you truly deserve. The exit was painful, but the space it created was necessary for your blessing. What is coming into your life needs emotional room. It needs mental room. It needs spiritual room. It needs space in your routine, space in your heart, space in your destiny. And that space wasn't available until Allah made it available. The blessing you were waiting for is something they were blocking, something they were distracting you from, something they were delaying in your life. Allah knew this, so He removed them so you could receive what you prayed for. Their exit did not create emptiness, it created opportunity. Their absence did not create loneliness, it created readiness. Their departure did not damage your future, it protected it. The blessing you were waiting for is now free to enter your life because the wrong person is no longer occupying the space. My dear brothers and sisters, there are seasons where Allah removes someone from your heart, and at first you only feel the emptiness they left behind. You look around your life and all you see are gaps, a space at the table, a silence in your messages, an absence in your routine, a quieter day, a lonely night. And you keep thinking, this space feels wrong. But what if the space you're crying over is the exact space your blessing needs to land? Some blessings don't come to crowded hearts. Some blessings don't enter noisy room. Some blessings don't arrive when your life is full of distractions. Some blessings don't show up when your soul is tied to someone who weakens you. Your heart wasn't empty. It was overcrowded with expectations, overcrowded with stress, overcrowded with fear, overcrowded with worrying if they will stay or leave, overcrowded with trying to make something work that was never written. And Allah, who knows the weight inside your chest, removed the person so the blessing could finally breathe in your life. Think of it this way. If you want the morning sunlight to enter your room, you must open the curtains. If you want fresh air to enter, you must open the window. If you want blessings to flow into your life, you must clear the space blocking them. Allah, in His perfect timing, opened the curtain for you, opened the window, cleared the room, cleaned the heart, prepared the soul, and you thought your world was falling apart. But the truth was, your world was being prepared for what you couldn't have received before. My dear brothers and sisters, some relationships take so much energy that you don't have space left for the goodness waiting ahead. You don't have space to grow. You don't have space to dream. You don't have space to heal. You don't have space to focus. You don't have space to step into your future. You were too busy trying to keep someone who was not meant to stay. But Allah said, you have carried this long enough. So He ended it, not to hurt you, but to free you, not to break you, but to rebuild you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every blessing you pray for requires emotional strength, and emotional strength requires space. You cannot receive what Allah has written if your heart is still tied to what He removed. When Allah creates space, He doesn't leave it empty. He fills it with something better. A better friendship, a better relationship, a better environment, a better opportunity, a better peace, a better future, a better version of yourself. Your heart is not an empty room. It's a room waiting to be redesigned by Allah. And redesign requires clearing. You don't just throw new furniture into a crowded room. You clear the old. You remove what is broken. You detach from what takes space. You get rid of what you no longer use. You let go of what is blocking the beauty of what's coming. Allah does this with your life. Some people take up emotional space and spiritual space without adding anything meaningful. Letting them stay means blocking what Allah wants to send. Their exit created space. Space for clarity, space for healing, space for peace, space for growth, space for the blessing you begged for. You didn't lose because they left. You gained because Allah cleared the room. Imagine trying to plant a garden on land full of rocks. You cannot plant anything beautiful until the rocks are removed. You cried when the rocks were taken away because you didn't realize they were blocking the flowers. The blessing you were waiting for is the flower. Their exit was the removal of the rocks. My brothers and sisters, you prayed for a partner who respects you. The one you held on to was getting in the way. You prayed for a peaceful heart. The one you held on to was disturbing it. You prayed for emotional safety. The one you held on to was weakening it. You prayed for Allah to strengthen your faith. The one you held on to was distracting you from your path. You prayed for a future with stability. The one you held on to was slipping away from responsibility. So Allah answered your dua not by giving more, but by removing what was preventing your dua from being fulfilled. This is why you did not lose anything. You only lost what was delaying the blessing you were begging for. One day, when your blessing finally arrives, when you meet the person who treats your heart with gentleness, when you receive the opportunity that fits your soul perfectly, when you step into a future that feels peaceful and real, when you feel healed in places you once felt broken, you will say, if they didn't leave, I would have missed this. You will understand that the pain you felt during their exit was nothing compared to the joy waiting to enter. The blessing you were waiting for is bigger than the heartbreak you survived. Their exit was the key that unlocked the doorway to everything you prayed for. Losing them ended a test that was weakening your heart. My dear brothers and sisters, there are some people in your life who don't come as blessings, they come as tests. Not every test is loud. Not every test arrives with instant pain. Some tests come in the most gentle disguise. A smile, a friendship, a conversation, a promise, a relationship, a moment of comfort that slowly turns into a lifetime of emotional weight. And because the test begins quietly, you don't recognize it until you are deep inside it. You don't see how the relationship is slowly shaping your heart, draining your energy, weakening your spirit, and tiring your soul. Some tests weaken you so silently that you don't notice the damage until the moment Allah ends the test. You thought you were loving someone. You thought you were choosing someone. You thought you were giving someone a place in your life. But what you were actually doing was carrying a test that was breaking you slowly. They didn't hurt you with one big blow. They hurt you with 100 small cuts. Little comments that stayed in your heart. Little actions that shook your confidence. Little moments that made you question your worth. Little disappointments that added up over time. You kept forgiving. You kept trying. You kept hoping. You kept explaining yourself. You kept giving chances. You kept shrinking your needs. You kept lowering your expectations. Not because you were weak, but because you believed the test was something you had to endure. You didn't see that the test was weakening you. You didn't see how heavy your heart felt because of them. You didn't see how anxious you became. You didn't see how much of your joy they slowly consumed. You didn't see how your mind was constantly tired. You didn't see how much silence you kept inside you. You were too busy holding the relationship together to notice how much of yourself was falling apart. Allah saw the weight you were carrying. He saw your exhaustion. He saw the way your heart was sinking. He saw how much you pretended to be okay. He saw how many tears you cried silently. He saw how many du'as you made asking Him for strength, for clarity, for relief, for peace. And when Allah saw that the test had gone on long enough, He did what only the most merciful can do. He ended the test. He removed the person. He interrupted the cycle. He broke the attachment. He closed the chapter. He shut the door. He pulled you out. Because if Allah didn't remove them, you would have remained stuck in a test that was slowly draining your heart. Some people weaken your heart without ever shouting at you, without ever hurting you in obvious ways. They weaken you through inconsistency. They weaken you through confusion. They weaken you through mixed signals. They weaken you through emotional neglect. They weaken you through taking your presence for granted. They weaken you through carelessness and lack of effort. They weaken you by always choosing you last. They weaken you by never truly showing up for you. And the worst part, you blame yourself for their behavior. You think you are not enough. You think you need to try harder. You think you need to prove your worth. You think you need to be more patient. You think you need to love them more. You don't realize you were not failing the test. The test was failing you. My dear brothers and sisters, there are tests that build you and there are tests that break you. Allah never wants a test to destroy you. He wants it to teach you. He wants it to elevate you. He wants it to shape you. He wants it to strengthen you. But when the test begins weakening your heart, instead of strengthening it, Allah ends it. You cry because you want the person back, but Allah says, this test is over. You feel abandoned, but Allah is saying, I just rescued your heart. You feel like you lost something, but Allah is saying, you just gained freedom. You feel like you were left behind, but Allah is saying, you were saved from falling deeper. When Allah ends a test, He ends it in a way that protects your future, even if your present heart doesn't understand it. You may not see the wisdom now, but there will come a day when you look back and whisper to yourself, if that test didn't end, I would have lost parts of myself I could never rebuild. And that day, you will understand that losing them was Allah pulling you out of a fire you didn't even see. My dear brothers and sisters, every test has a limit, and when your heart reaches that limit, Allah steps in. Not because you are weak, but because He loves you much more than you love the test you were holding on to. He ends the test to give you rest. He ends the test to give you clarity. He ends the test to give you peace. He ends the test to give you healing. He ends the test to give you a fresh beginning. He ends the test to give you strength again. Sometimes the biggest mercy in your life is Allah ending a relationship you were trying too hard to fix. The heart you were weakening is the heart Allah is now healing. When Allah pulls you out of a test, you may feel confused at first. You may ask yourself, why did this happen so suddenly? Why did they change? Why did the relationship break? Why did the connection fade? Why did Allah take them away from me? But you don't realize it didn't happen suddenly. The only thing that happened suddenly was your awareness. The test was already ending long before you understood it. Allah was already protecting you long before you realized you needed protection. He was giving signs, but your heart was too attached to notice. He was closing doors, but you kept forcing them open. He was removing your strength, but you kept trying to push forward. He was showing you their reality, but your love for them made you look away. You saw everything except the truth. Your heart was growing weaker every day. And Allah does not allow anything to weaken the believer's heart beyond its limit. When your heart reached that limit, Allah said, this test ends here. You may think the breakup or separation or distance or silence or rejection was painful. But imagine the pain you would have experienced if Allah let the test continue. Imagine how deeply you would have been hurt if you discovered their true intentions later. Imagine how broken you would have felt if their behavior got worse. Imagine how drained you would have become trying to fix something that wasn't yours to fix. Imagine how far your heart would have fallen if Allah didn't stop it in time. The pain of losing them now is nothing compared to the pain you were protected from later. Losing them ended the test at the exact moment it needed to end. You were drowning quietly and Allah pulled you out loudly. You didn't see how the test was shaping you. It made you overthink. It made you feel insecure. It made you question your worth. It made you feel unloved. It made you doubt your significance. It made you compromise your needs. It made you silence your voice. It made you hide your emotions. It made you forget your value. It made you shrink your heart just to be accepted. These are not the signs of a test meant to strengthen you. These are the signs of a test meant to end. Allah does not want your heart to live forever in a place where it is constantly being emptied and rarely being refilled. He does not want your kindness to be taken for granted. He does not want your sensitivity to be misused. He does not want your patience to be used against you. He does not want your gentleness to be mistaken for weakness. He does not want your sincerity to be one-sided. And He definitely does not want your heart to break slowly over time while you pretend you're okay. So Allah ended the test to protect you from the version of yourself you were becoming inside it. Because the version of you that survived them was not the version of you He created. You became clearer, you became smaller, you became emotionally tired, you became uncertain of your worth, you became afraid of expressing your needs. You became someone who accepted less than you deserved, and that is not who you are meant to be. So Allah ended the test to return your heart to its rightful strength. My dear brothers and sisters, you may think you failed the test. You didn't. Tests end when they fulfill their purpose. And this one fulfilled its purpose. It taught you patience. It taught you compassion. It taught you boundaries. It taught you strength. It taught you wisdom. It taught you what love should not feel like. It taught you who should not have access to your heart. It taught you that you deserve emotional safety. It taught you that peace matters more than attachment. Tests are not meant to last forever. They are meant to shape you. And when you become the version of yourself that the test was meant to create, Allah ends it. You didn't lose someone, you graduated from a spiritual lesson. The pain you feel after the test is just the final chapter closing. It hurts because endings hurt. It hurts because you cared deeply. It hurts because you invested your heart. It hurts because you believed they were yours. But pain after a test is a sign that you passed it. Pain shows your heart still works. Pain shows your heart still feels. Pain shows your heart survived. Pain shows your heart is alive. Pain shows you still have the capacity to love. And a heart that can still love after being tested is a heart Allah honors. Because Allah takes no pleasure in breaking the hearts of His servants. Every heartache has purpose. Every tear has weight. Every disappointment has wisdom. Every ending has protection. Every exit has mercy. Every loss has a hidden gift. And one day, when your heart settles and the storm quiets down and your soul begins to regain strength, you will look back and say, this test had to end. If it didn't, I would have lost myself. The test ended so you could begin again. It ended so your heart could recover. It ended so your soul could breathe. It ended so your future could open. It ended so you could finally receive what was written for you. Something that would strengthen your heart, not weaken it again. Their absence was the beginning of your rise. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes a person's absence feels like the end of everything. It feels like the light went out. It feels like the air was taken from your chest. It feels like your world lost its direction. You wake up and you feel the weight of their absence before you even open your eyes. You walk through your day with a quiet ache that only you can feel. Every memory becomes loud. Every silence becomes heavy. Every breath feels deeper than it should. And you keep thinking to yourself, my life is falling apart without them. But you don't realize their absence is not the end of you. It is the beginning of you. Their absence is not the closing of your story. It is the opening of the chapter you were always meant to live. When Allah removes someone from your life, He is not reducing you. He is revealing you. He is uncovering the strength you didn't know you had. He is waking up a part of your soul you forgot existed. He is lifting you to a level you would have never reached. As long as that person was holding your heart down. Sometimes a person's presence keeps you small, but their absence allows you to rise. You don't rise loud at first. You rise quietly. You rise in the moments you stop checking if they came back. You rise in the moments you stop watering dead connections. You rise in the moments you stop asking why. You rise in the moments you stop blaming yourself. You rise in the moments you start breathing deeply again. You rise in the moments you forgive yourself for loving the wrong person. You rise in the moments you choose peace over pain. Your rise begins inside you long before it appears outside you. Because sometimes Allah removes someone so your soul can finally stand up straight again. You were bending too much to keep them. You were breaking yourself to hold the connection. You were dimming your light to make them comfortable. You were silencing your needs to avoid conflict. You were carrying weight they were supposed to carry with you. And Allah saw this quietly happening to your heart. He saw how tired you became. He saw how lost you felt. He saw how your confidence slowly sank. He saw how much you were pretending to be okay. He saw how much you prayed for peace while living in chaos. So He removed them not to punish you, but to rise you. Because you cannot rise while holding on to someone who keeps you on the ground. My dear brothers and sisters, your rise begins the moment your heart breaks, because a broken heart is a heart that finally stops depending on the wrong things. You rise when your heart returns to Allah after depending too much on creation. You rise when you rediscover the strength you forgot you had. You rise when you begin to rebuild yourself piece by piece. You rise when you choose healing over hurting. You rise when you choose faith over fear. You rise when you choose growth over attachment. People think rising is loud, powerful, visible, but the greatest rises happen quietly. You rise when you start sleeping better. You rise when you start eating without losing your appetite. You rise when you start waking up with a little less heaviness. You rise when you start smiling without forcing it. You rise when you start remembering who you were before the pain. You rise when you start seeing your worth without someone else validating it. Their absence gave you the space to breathe again. For the first time in a long time, your heart is finally getting rest. Your mind is finally slowing down. Your soul is finally healing. Your path is finally clearing. The moment they walked out, your eyes quietly walked in. At first, you don't see it. You only see the loneliness. You only see the empty messages. You only see the silence. You only see the missing presence. But slowly, you begin to see something else. Your strength returning, your clarity returning, your confidence rebuilding, your faith deepening, your patience growing. This is your rise. Your rise is not loud, but it is strong. It is happening inside you even now, without you fully realizing it. You are rising every time you choose to let go. Instead of holding on to something that hurt you, you are rising every time you choose to move forward. Instead of waiting for someone who already left, you are rising every time you choose to trust Allah instead of trusting your fear. You are rising every time you choose to forgive yourself for loving deeply. You are rising every time you choose to believe that Allah has written something better for you. My dear brothers and sisters, their absence may feel like a wound, but it is actually a window that opens your soul to growth, a window that brings light into the places that were dark, a window that shows you what your life could look like when it is filled with the right people, not the wrong ones. You rise the moment you understand that Allah does not take anything from you unless He is preparing to give you something far better, a better you, a better future, a better peace, a better heart, a better strength, a better plan. Your rise began the moment they left because their presence was blocking the version of you that Allah was preparing behind the scenes. You don't become stronger when you are surrounded by comfort. You become stronger when you rise from where you were broken. You don't discover your worth when people stay for the easy moments. You discover your worth when people leave and you still survive. You don't unlock your potential when everything is going well. You unlock your potential when life tests you and you keep moving forward anyway. This is why their absence is powerful. It forces you to grow. It forces you to think. It forces you to reflect. It forces you to rebuild. It forces you to rediscover what you forgot about your own strength. They didn't walk away from your rise. Their walking away created your rise. What you lost was temporary. What you gained is permanent. My dear brothers and sisters, there are things in this life that feel so heavy when you lose them. People you wanted to stay, dreams you wanted to protect, relationships you wanted to last, plans you thought were certain, moments you wished you could keep forever. And when Allah removes something from your life, your heart immediately feels the emptiness. It feels the shock. It feels the loss. It feels the gap that wasn't there the day before. It feels the change you didn't prepare for. It feels the silence that replaces a once familiar voice. It feels the loneliness where someone once stood. And you say to yourself, how did I lose something that meant so much to me? But what you don't realize is this. What you lost was temporary. What you gained is permanent. You lost a person, but you gained clarity. You lost an attachment, but you gained strength. You lost a chapter, but you gained wisdom. You lost a comfort zone, but you gained a future. You lost an illusion, but you gained truth. You lost emotional noise, but you gained inner peace. Allah never takes something from your hands unless He plans to replace it with something that stays. Temporary things leave, but permanent things remain. Temporary people walk away, but permanent growth stays with you forever. Temporary pain hurts, but permanent healing transforms you forever. Temporary loss shakes you, but permanent reward rebuilds you stronger than you ever were. My dear soul, the person who left was temporary. Their presence felt big, but their purpose was small. Their exit felt painful, but the lesson they brought will last for the rest of your life. Some people enter your life not to stay, but to awaken something inside you. A strength you didn't know you had, a faith you didn't know you needed, a boundary you didn't know you were allowed to set, a self-respect you didn't know you had lost, a direction you didn't know you needed to walk toward. Their presence was temporary, but the transformation they triggered in you is permanent. You may not understand it now, but there are things inside you that would have never grown if that person had stayed. Their absence created space for your permanent rise. My dear brothers and sisters, everything in this dunya is meant to leave us sooner or later. People change, feelings fade, promises break, connections shift, relationships end, moments disappear. Nothing in this world is permanent except the growth, the lessons, the strength and the closeness to Allah that come from every hardship you survive. The temporary heartbreak taught you compassion. The temporary loneliness taught you resilience. The temporary confusion taught you clarity. The temporary pain taught you patience. The temporary separation taught you detachment. The temporary silence taught you reflection. The temporary loss taught you gratitude. These are not small gifts. These are permanent gifts. You lost someone who was never meant to stay, but you gained parts of yourself that were meant to last forever. You gained emotional maturity. You gained wisdom. You gained self-awareness. You gained humility. You gained sincerity. You gained gratitude. You gained a deeper understanding of your own heart. You gained a closer relationship with Allah. These gifts stay. These gifts grow. These gifts define you. These gifts prepare you for what is coming. These gifts travel with you into your future. And most importantly, these gifts shape the person you are becoming. The pain you felt from losing someone will eventually fade, but the strength you gained because of that loss will stay with you forever. The tears you cried were temporary. The healing that came from those tears is permanent. The nights you spent feeling empty were temporary. The lessons you learned in that emptiness are permanent. The ache in your chest was temporary. The understanding it brought is permanent. The loneliness was temporary. Your rediscovered identity is permanent. The heartbreak was temporary. Your connection with Allah afterward is permanent. My brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah takes away what was never meant to stay so He can give you what was always meant to remain. People leave, but the peace Allah gives stays. Connections break, but the clarity Allah gives stays. Plans collapse, but the wisdom Allah gives stays. Hearts get hurt, but the healing Allah gives stays. Nothing you lost was ever permanent. If it was meant to stay, it would have stayed. Allah does not remove permanence. He removes temporariness. He removes distraction. He removes illusion. He removes attachments that block your growth. He removes relationships that block your path. He removes conversations that waste your time. He removes people who weaken your heart. He removes situations that stop your soul from rising. You didn't lose anything lasting. You only lost what wasn't meant to follow you into the next chapter. What is coming is not temporary. What is coming is written. What is coming is stable. What is coming is peaceful. What is coming is better. What is coming is meant for your soul, not for your loneliness. Your future is permanent. The heartbreak was not. Your spiritual rise is permanent. The pain was not. Your inner strength is permanent. The people who triggered it were not. Your wisdom is permanent. The mistake that taught it was not. Your closeness to Allah is permanent. The situation that pulled you toward Him was not. The temporary loss brought you to a permanent blessing. And one day, not far from now, you will look back and say, what I lost didn't matter. What I gained changed everything. My dear brother, my dear sister, if you reach this point of the video, then your heart is stronger than you think, because only a strong heart stays. When the world becomes heavy, only a sincere heart listens, even when it is hurting. Only a brave heart seeks healing while wiping its own tears. And I want you to remember something before this reminder ends. You did not come this far to be forgotten. You did not survive this much to stay broken. and you did not lose what you lost without Allah preparing something far better for you. What left you was never your future. What ended was never your destination. What broke you was only clearing the path for what will finally complete you. Your story is not ending here. Your story is only changing direction. And the new direction leads toward peace, toward clarity, towards healing, toward the life Allah always wanted for you. My dear soul, as you close this video, don't close your heart. Don't close your hope. Don't close your trust in Allah, because the same Allah who took you out of what was hurting you is the same Allah who will take you into what is written for you. And when that blessing arrives, you will look back at today and whisper, Ya Allah, you knew exactly what I needed. Until then, heal slowly, breathe gently, trust deeply, and walk with the certainty that you are not alone. Your pain is seen, your tears are counted, your prayers are heard, your future is protected, and your rise has already begun.